Hello, everybody, and kaboom. And did you want to talk about
Yeah, that easy?
yep, we're live. Did you want to talk about the thing tonight? The thing and the
Yes.
stuff? Okay, well, first let's, hmm,
Do your intro.
where is the intro at? Everything got changed. Um,
Well, hi, everybody. Welcome to Drama.
yes, welcome. Glad to see y'all. Humana. And, yeah, tonight, quick show. Holly has some. I don't know where the KMMU intro went. It has. I don't know what I did. The whole everything changed on this. So, um, I will have to touch base with them and see if it's still alive and around. Maybe it's somewhere. But yeah, it used to be lined out
Okay,
kind of vertically, and now it's more
that's
horizontally.
okay. Let's we can move on. Or did you find it?
Yeah. No, I haven't found it yet. All right. Everyone, we just want to thank KMMU for all their support. Sorry, been gone for 2 weeks. We had Christmas Eve and then New Year's. And so we're back and I'm gonna. But anyways, Holly has some announcement to make and some stuff to chat about.
Well, it is 2006, and if you'd have asked me a month ago what I'd be doing on this day, it would be preparing for caucus and getting myself ready to, with my team, to put on the best caucus in the county. But there was a different plan in place. Since our representative Bridger is not seeking reelection, I did a thing. Um, it was with much prayer
I
and
did a
support from
thing.
my family. And I am officially filed to run for State House in District 29, which is Stansbury, Grantsville, Juab, and Millard County, and Wendover. It is Bridger Bollander's seat that he will be in for the remainder of the year. And he's such an exceptional leader and representative. And as sad as it is that he is going to not seek reelection, I know that he's doing it for the right reasons. And I absolutely adore him. He's been a tremendous friend, him and his wife, Tricia. They're amazing people. And so here I am. Today I have resigned as party chair effective Sunday so that I may attend the SEC meeting on Saturday, and that way Tooele County still has their voice and just representation. So I was going it to be done today, but since it has no reflection on the election or anything, I still have to fulfill my obligation there proudly. It has been an honor of my life to serve as chair in this party and the Republican Party. And I am so grateful for all of you that have put your time and energy and faith in this party. And I am now running for a district seat, and I hope that I can represent the voters in the best possible way with common sense and logical issues that affect each and every one of us that need to be addressed. I feel like I can make an impact there with how much I've learned over the course of 9 years in the seat, and um, the amazing people like you guys, the voters, who sometimes get washed out in a vote and forgotten about. And I would like to keep going with, though they're huge shoes to fill, and I don't say that I can, I would like to keep going with what Bridger has done to work with county electeds, to work with voters, and to work with the leadership and legislature to get things going. And I would be honored to get the trust that you have given him, all of you. So hopefully you'll reach out to me if you have any questions, if that's your district. And there are a lot of people filing. So whenever you can, we've got it listed on the Twilla County Republican page, as well as I put it on this page for political head trauma, just so you have an idea who's running. And Jared, you remember my jihad after that not unforgettable school board meeting that I attended, where we watched 200 people at least in that auditorium addressing the school board against that tax hike that was so big, and it fell on deaf ears. And what's sad is then they turn around that night and vote against all those people in there. And that spiked something in me. And I know every episode I bring up the fact that remember what your school board did to you. Just remember that, because the Utah State Tax Commission, they stopped it because they didn't do it procedurally properly. Well, this next year, they're not going to make a mistake. And I guarantee they're coming back for that money. And it is an election year, and there are school board seats up. They're nonpartisan, so these people don't campaign like your Republicans do and your Democrats do. So make sure that you get to know them.
I did see something about a guy threw his hat in the ring for it. I need to dig back through and find that. But anyways, what areas will you? Yeah, what areas? Describe the areas you would cover in this district.
Stansbury, Grantsville, Wendover, parts of Juab, parts of Millard. Juab is a sliver, and then Millard is a little bit bigger, but Tooele County is the biggest part. Grantsville is the biggest city.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Those are my neighbors.
That's you.
You're my family. My people come from Grantsville.
Am I a part of your district? I'm not, right?
You're not, but your dad is, grandma is.
Yeah, the old man is.
Yeah, all of Grantsville.
You heard it here like third. The first, I think she made an announcement on Facebook, but so we're proud of Holly, proud to support her, and hope she does well, and we'll just keep getting the word out. But even though she's running, we're still going to, especially because she's running, we're going to make sure we reach out to her competitors and give them a chance to come on the show. We'll even give them the choice if they want to come on the show with just me, you know, or if they, however they prefer to do it, you know, but I think it'd be really good to have, to make sure that at least here we're above board on it. I know that that's a lot to ask for, but, and this comes from Holly. Holly called me yesterday and said, I have decided to do this, but because of that, I want to make sure that we give a platform at the same time to my competitors. So we're going to do that. We're going to reach out to them. We will be a little more Tooele County focused, I think, this go around. We're going to make sure we get all the candidates willing on, especially the school board. We want to get them all on. So if for you guys outside of Tooele County, it might be boring, but we've put down rules. We're going to limit all interviews to an appropriate time so we can still have some kind of show that can have a broader reach and be more entertaining. But let's give it up to Holly. Everything else. And William says, hello, guys. Nice to see you. I hope you had a wonderful holiday season. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. I read Holly's heartfelt message and wish her all the best with this new phase of her political career. Yes, thank you, William. I had a great Christmas, a great New Year's. Went over to Buddy's house on New Year's and we played some games and drank some Snoop Dogg wine. It was an outstanding night.
How fun. Yeah.
Well,
thank you, William.
Yes, thank you. I guess without further ado, there's kind of one dominant story out there.
Yeah, let's hit it.
It's wild. So on January 3rd at like around 1 a.m. in the morning, the U.S. Army pulled its junk out and showed that it's got the biggest junk on Earth in all of history. They did a 3-hour operation in Venezuela, and captured the Venezuelan self-declared El Presidente Maduro. It was done with Marine Air Forces, U.S. Air Forces, U.S. Navy, and U.S. Army. They went in and I've heard different stories that 88 civilians were killed and 33 people were killed. I don't know. Sounds like he was having Cuban guards as like his personal guard detail,
Yeah.
and Delta Force moved through them as only Delta Force can.
Can you
It's
imagine? My big fear would be Delta Forces here. Like, if you were a bad guy, Delta Force is a threat for sure.
they are the baddest dudes on the planet. They're
And there
they're the
was
real
precision,
world.
absolute precision. And I also heard that Maduro had let his people off for New Year's, like some of his guards and things. So he wasn't as heavily guarded for Christmas and New Year's.
Well, I'll tell you this right
And Trump
now.
said it was based on weather.
Yeah, I'm sure it was weather, and he's keeping his vice president in, so I'm sure that she was in on it. Um, I don't think without prior communication and a prior plan that they would have kept her in on it, kept her in place. She's going to be the leader of the country or whatever. I don't know. I have lots of thoughts. I mean, were it me, I'd probably screw it up. Let's be honest. But I would leave her in. I'd say, look, you need to form and move. I want to see elections in the next 4 months. I want to see an election, an open election. I would hire Eric Prince's group to be kind of her personal security and the next president, whoever wins, personal security. And I would hire them. I would have her hire them. We'll pay for them. And
Well,
that's how I'd
they'll
run it.
pay for it.
What's
We
that?
shouldn't pay for it.
No, I would have us
Country
pay
should
for
pay
it.
for it, not the United.
Nope. I would have us pay for it because it's our demands. That's how I would do it.
Is she the same? Is she the same person that was the one who got the Nobel Prize,
No,
who's been in hiding this whole time?
no.
Okay, I was curious
It's
how
it's
she fit in.
Maduro's pick for VP.
That
It's
sounds right. I mean,
and she wasn't Maduro's VP. The Nobel Prize winner wasn't. Maduro's
no, I get
VP
that. But why would we trust his VP?
because I think she
She
was
was the
in
VP
on it.
of a dictator. Okay.
Because I think she's one of our moles. That's why.
Okay.
This
I
plan
do
was,
see,
I'm sure this plan was made long before we attacked.
oh, I'm sure. And I do see that we're claiming 50 billion drums of oil that were stolen from the US. I did see that. I don't even know where we'd store that or how do you transfer that? That's a lot of boats.
Mm,
People can fathom 50 billion drums.
yeah, I it's
Oh,
probably going to
what's the
be
matter?
long term. I think we definitely, 50 billion drums, okay, we take a percentage, but I think ideally what I would like to see is I'd like to see their economy built back. I've followed Venezuela since well, I knew about it when Chavez took over, and then Maduro took over, and the word was, his Chavez's VP, which was a bus driver before he became VP. So it's not like he had a lot of political or leadership experience. And Chavez wasn't great, but Maduro really sunk him. And then Maduro, from all information coming out, he kind of went kooky and kept digging in. He kind of became to see us. We're heading off this changing of the guard. And what I don't want to see is, I don't want to see us putting young soldiers and young Marines down there. And then all it's going to take is for insurgents to take out a young GI, and next thing I know, we're in it. And so that's why I say we hire a contract group to go down there, because then we pay for it, but she hires them. That's how I do it. It of course, there would be an agreement between us and Eric Prince's group, or whoever's group we hire. Kind of an agreement that they will not allow anything that's
we
harmful.
don't want boots on the ground. That is,
that's what I'm saying.
Want boots on the ground, but also I don't think people realize that Venezuela is a hub with China, Russia, Iran, everybody who hates us, and it's right here in our hemisphere. And there is a reason to protect it. There is a reason for the United States to be very attentive to what's happening in Venezuela and Colombia, these places where terrorism has been growing and fed while the people have been starving and robbed of their treasure. And so there is a reason that we go in, but I am apprehensive for soldiers to go in. There are so many sleeper cells over there, I bet. And who knows what's going to happen in the next year over there. But the people of Venezuela are celebrating, and it is a beautiful thing to see. As bad as the left wants you to think that a dictator just killed a dictator, or whatever they're saying, I don't understand that. But I'm with you. I don't want our soldiers in harm's way over oil or anything, and I don't think it was necessarily about the oil. It's just Maduro messed around and found out.
I think
how many videos of him calling Trump a coward, and even though he was indicted,
I don't think it's about any of that.
After him.
I don't think it's about any of that. A matter of fact, Trump is saying it's about the oil. We're taking the oil, we're making it great. I think we're revisiting the Monroe Doctrine in where my opinion is we are finally recognizing that we're living in Thucydides' trap. And that's where an aging empire is on its way out, and an upstart is on its way up. I don't say that China is the upstart. I think it's a bifurcation of the globe is happening right now. And I think the way that we're going to manage Thucydides' trap is, I think we're going to see us reinvest in the Monroe Doctrine, and we're going to say, this is our hemisphere over here. And I think we're going to hopefully figure out means to economically enrich this whole hemisphere. Europe's committing suicide right now. Western Europe is. Eastern Europe is not. And that would be weird if we had Eastern Europe in our back pocket during this. But Western Europe is in the midst of committing suicide. And Saudi Arabia
Trump
is running.
Calling it the Dawn Row Doctrine.
The Dawn Row Doctrine. Well, I like it. That's good. But you've got but there's more going on. Saudi Arabia is running out of oil. Not that just Venezuela has more oil than Saudi Arabia anyway, but Saudi Arabia is running out. They're moving into other ventures. So I think what we're going to see It, and I hope, but I think we're going to see us um, moving into a multipolar world again, where there's going to be a couple of world powers, a lot like it was during the Cold War. And is it good? Is it bad? I don't know. That's a different judge. Probably depends on where you view it from. From the U.S., obviously that's bad, but is it better globally? It might be. Um, but hopefully we move into a new globe of restraint. But I think that's where we're headed. And I think Trump, I not just Trump, but the whole administration made this move on Venezuela to secure that most precious of natural resource now while that window was kind of open. How I'd like to see that move forward is I'd like to see us enrich Venezuela and bring Venezuela into a partnership with us. With that, I think we need to figure out how to build stronger partnerships with Mexico and Canada at the same time. If we're going to move into the Don Road doctrine, we need to figure out how to do that. How to support, how to bring in um, every country in this Western Hemisphere um, into a group objective. It would be rough if Canada decided to lay its partnership with something else. And maybe we're moving into kind of the 1984 idea where there were kind of three global powers. You had the
Super.
yeah, and so we might end up with that where we have kind of the Russia China alliance. India is still a question on that, but that'd be your BRICS nations. And then you have the EU, and the
But you have
EU
Saudi
could.
Arabia
What's
working with
that?
us. Saudi Arabia, you've got a lot of Egypt. They're trying to work with the United States
They are,
in
but
this deal with Venezuela. You've got all these peacemakers who are trying to help
100%.
Venezuela now.
I think Saudi Arabia is trying to move its importance in the world into different markets than oil because they are running out of oil. Saudi Arabia has been running
Yeah,
out of
I
oil
agree.
for a while. So I think they're trying to move into different markets. So Saudi's playing with some ideas and we'll see them open up something. But you've got the BRICS
I've
nations and
never
the
heard
thing.
that.
What's that?
I've never heard Saudi Arabia is running out of oil. I have heard that the under our feet in Utah, Montana, Colorado, and I don't know the other state, Idaho, there's more oil than there is in Saudi Arabia. I've heard that a lot, but it's untapped.
Well, let's remember Saudi Arabia has been the well, OPEC has been the major supplier of the world for the last 40 years. And OPEC is those, they're getting tapped out. And so I think we're going to see Saudi Arabia try to professionalize into a different market and become valuable in something different. And it might be something.
So
Go on.
AI says no, Saudi Arabia is not running out of oil soon. It holds the world's second largest proven reserves, plans to increase production capacity, though its economy heavily relies on oil revenue for diversification plans like Vision 2030, creating a push pull between extraction and transition. While reserves are vast, estimated to suggest decades to centuries of supply. Future
Okay.
demand changes, extraction efficiency remains a key factor.
I stand
So,
corrected, but I know Saudi's trying to find other avenues. They're
oh,
trying to move
definitely.
professionally into other avenues. And that's fine.
Like
Diversify your
sports.
economy. Saudi Arabia's been, well, they've spent, not quite 100 years, but pretty close to it as an oil economy. And, you know, I think they want to move into something different, a lot like how Taiwan moved away from making colorful little toys to making high-end electronics. And
Yeah.
so I think it'd be nice if we could figure out how to support this hemisphere. And I don't think if we keep it that the United States is this overreaching hub on this hemisphere and every other country is subservient to us, I don't think that would work. I think we need to learn how to build partnerships. I don't know if what Trump's been doing is a success or a failure on that. I don't know. I'm not smart enough, but I don't know. And there may be totally other stuff going on. Because remember, I am borderline retarded. This is just me shooting off the hip. But, anyways,
Well, if I could say, I think that in 11 months or almost 12 months, what Trump has done is stand up for the United States and for the many countries,
hmm
citizens that are suffering. And I think globally, he has made us a superpower again. Um, we're energy independent from when he was last time in the office. We were energy independent. You're seeing gas prices drop. You're seeing a lot of things changing. You said that we could be in a war with Russia next week. The reality is, when they are embedded in these countries that are trying to kill the United States with their drugs or with their gangs or whatever it is, when China's in there and Russia's in there, and you go in and you remove the guy that's keeping them cohesive, or the actual corruption that's been sewn together, and you burst it apart, you're bound to make enemies. But I stand on it. I don't want to see our troops, unless there's fun missions like this that they're all excited about, that are well planned and well thought through. But again, I don't love our country also deciding who leads other countries. That hasn't worked out great for us in the past. But Maduro was wanted by our Justice Department for going all through the Biden administration, and he was indicted in 2020, I think. And so bringing him in was legal, and they had little loss of life, zero on the United States side. I don't know what the civilian numbers are, but the people in the street tell me everything I need to know about why Trump did what he did. Regardless of the benefits to the United States, the people both here in the United States in the streets and the people in Venezuela praising and thanking him and grateful. Um, that is huge. And you're going to have a lot of Venezuelan immigrants want to go home
it'd be
and in their
nice.
country and build it back up to something.
Yeah, they want to go back there and have some homemade empanadas. It'd be nice. I
Which
don't
is
want
sad
to.
though, because they're some of the best immigrants.
Yeah, they're great people, but and it's fine if they go home. That's fine. And I mean, it'd be great if we could, over say the next century, build up this whole hemisphere to where every country on this hemisphere of the globe had the same standard of living and relative same values. And then we could have a completely mobile hemisphere where people could, it'd be like the Sanguine was in Western Europe before the United Nations threw its doors open uh, to migrants. And I recognize why they're doing it, but imagine if we could have that over here and have the same values. And
I don't think that's possible. I
you
mean,
don't you don't win you don't win a long-term global war through force of arms. I think you win it with the old adage, it would have been better to destroy the USSR with porno and blue jeans.
or you send a lot of migrants into one state, for example, I don't know, like a Minnesota or something, and then you send so many in there that they start attacking the United States right from the inside, right?
That I
By fraud, by
do
not
you
sharing
do you think
values, by
that
not
was
acclimating.
Do you think that was attack against the United States, or do you think that was them just seeing a window to make money and diving into that window because it's such a mismanaged system between the federal system that drew the money around like it was drunken sailors on shore leave and
I
the
think it
state
was.
not paying attention to anything?
No, I think it was a planned, a very good plan. Either it's to foster votes or it's to upset the culture in the United States. Um, because the people that are, the tampon Tims out there who are saying it, you're a racist for accusing these people and standing up for them. And this guy almost was vice president.
Yeah, well, let
And
me ask you
here
this.
we're talking about this was a whole party's plan to open the borders and bring people in. They shipped them there.
Yeah, but
They
do,
purposely sent them somewhere.
do you think they did that just so that they could get Minnesota as a voting bloc Democrat? Or do you think they did that because in their in their um, progressive thinking, they 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 wanted to look like the suburban white liberal mother who transes their kid. They wanted to show off that they did that.
I lost you midway through, but I
I
I
don't
think
know if
it
it was a
got out of hand.
see. I don't.
Their plan was,
I don't think the fraud was a planned thing.
oh,
I
not the
think it was.
fraud. I'm talking about immigration and the culture shock and the change. The fraud was just the cherry on top
Do
because
you
they didn't
think?
have any eye on it.
Oh, and I'm sure the Democrats got kickback from that. But do you think when they first brought all the immigrants there, when they had the call for the Somali immigrants to come over, and Minnesota volunteered to take on however many they did, I think it was 25,000 the first go round or something like that. Do you think that was planned to upset the economy, or do you think it was them just trying to say, look how good I am to all the rest of their progressive friends in there? You know,
No, I think they opened the border and shipped people in the dead of night all around this
well,
country.
I'm talking earlier than that.
That was their plan. They absolutely planned to upset the apple cart, and I all that money, I guarantee a lot of that money goes back in the pockets of NGOs and politicians in DC.
The Somali push was much earlier than the Somali push was back in the 90s and early 2000s.
Yeah.
That's when most of those guys came over. That's why they speak such good English and they're up there telling you how people broke in and stole all the records.
Stole their record. I know. I mean,
You can't make this shit up, guys. You literally cannot make it up.
that's so stupid.
Holly's got good internet, by the way. I just want to throw that
Governor,
out there.
yeah, it's I give me
Anyways,
one second.
Yeah, Williams says, I saw in 2019 interview in which Maduro denied the presence of Cuban military personnel in Venezuela and within his personal security ring. But that was a lie because the Cuban regime recently admitted it. Yes, it's Maduro did some weird things. Like he took his military and had him out mining gold, I heard. And then he was kind of personally to buy off his generals and to enrich himself was selling that gold on the black market and doing stuff like that, which, whatever's whatever, but your people are starving and that's how you live your life. It just seems odd to me. The woman who assumed Venezuela's interim presidency is Delcy Rodriguez, the daughter of a guerrilla fighter. Uh, would that be Jorge or George? Jorge Rodriguez, who in 1976 kidnapped a U.S. businessman named William Frank Niehaus. Niehaus was a U.S. executive, president of operations in Venezuela for Owens, Illinois, who was kidnapped by the leftist guerrillas and held captive for more than 3 years before finally being released in 1979. And Obama and Biden were enablers of Maduro and his antics. It was funny. Obama was the one who put the biggest batch of sanctions on Maduro. There was the initial sanctions when Chavez took over, when he was expropriating everything, but Obama re-upped the sanctions, and that was when Maduro made a lot of economic decisions and sent his country into a famine. And then I remember it was during Trump's first presidency. It was like 2017, 2018, when Venezuela went bankrupt. They would have Mexico print their money, and they asked Mexico to print another batch of pretend money, monopoly money, and Mexico told them no, because they owed Mexico so much money. Look, when electing people to lead you, it's very important you elect people who are qualified. Now, Chavez was a colonel in the Venezuelan army who led a coup in, was it in the 90s, the 80s or 90s? And he went to jail, and then he got out, and then he actually ran and won, because the life in Venezuela was not good. It was getting to where there was getting to be a large gap. And in Central America, those gaps are very scary. I heard someone tell a story the other day that Central or South America is interesting because they go through these pushes. Every country they'll swing right, and then they'll swing left, and then they'll swing right. And as they do that, because they all speak the same language and they all have very porous borders, that they will just move from country to country. So a Venezuelan, when it goes one way that they don't agree with, will move to Ecuador, and then, and move around. So they end up with like little mini radical coalitions in there. And you see that a lot if you study like Che Guevara, he was Argentinian, but he moved all over South America, Central America, and the Caribbean, and Africa as well, bolstering these little commie uprisings. And so it's something, I think, if we don't provide a path to general prosperity for the nation, everything that we did will be for naught. And that's all I'm saying. We've got to find a path, and we upset the apple cart. It's our job now to make sure that we find a path for, in my opinion, for prosperity for Venezuela. Now, could we just take the oil and run? Sure, we could take the oil and run and be right back to where we were. Okay. William says, Jared and Holly, please tell me what you think about Maduro's dances and his speaking English. He should have been a comedian instead of a politician. I've seen a few of them.
I have to say,
he was a fairly charismatic guy. He was an incompetent boob, but he was a fairly charismatic guy. He was cocky as all get out. Man, I don't know if I would have.
did you see the X post where he's calling Trump a coward. I mean, almost everyone has seen this.
Yeah.
And then, like, he didn't anticipate that.
There,
when he's like,
yeah.
yeah, come for me, coward. I'm right here.
Yeah, and there's some there's some stuff going on in the world. Iran is in open revolt right now.
Good.
I mean, the Ayatollah might be no more. And what does that look like for the globe? And even if
What
the
does it look like
Ayatollah's
for
gone,
the people?
well, even if the
People
Ayatollah's
need to
gone,
stand up.
even if the Ayatollah's gone, does Iran choose to stay on a path that it's on where it is aligned with the BRICS nations? And under Biden, we made some. No one talks about this. Yes, Trump went in and took a president, but under Biden, we did something that I think is much farther reaching that no one ever talks about, and that's when we started freezing mass assets of other nations because we were mad at them. And that's where that put our SWIFT network at extreme hazard. BRICS was this pitiful dream, and yeah, it's a long way off, mostly because India doesn't trust China, thank God.
I can't
But
believe any of them could trust any.
well, but can any of them trust us?
No.
That's
I
why.
think that I don't think that they can trust each other, though. Really, the United States at least knows what they're standing for, or in their minds what they're standing for, and they're not shy about saying it. But I look at what's going on in England, and I'm like, where are the people revolting? I would love to see the people of Iran stand up for themselves and say,
Oh,
enough of this. We want to live life and have freedom. Most countries do not have what we have. And we all have the luxury to sit here in armchair quarterback and say how great, you know, this other country is and this and that. But we live in the greatest country in the world, and we do have the ability to maybe, just maybe, share a lot of what we're doing with other countries that are trapped by dictators.
well,
But it's not our job.
let me give my word out. And this is for all you countries out there. Great Britain isn't, they're in riots all the time. France riots every weekend. They riot all the time, no matter what. But let me tell you why it's going to be a lot harder to have a full dictator here in the US. And there's one simple reason, and it's guns. Guns is the reason. Over in England, when they can send 2 5-foot
Well, that's
nothing
it.
pretend police
And the
officers
people in
over.
the street are starting to get out.
Jeez, you broke
Jared.
up.
The people
What's
in the
that?
streets in France, the people in the streets in France and England are getting outnumbered because those people who have infiltrated their country are making babies. Lots
They
of
are.
them.
Well, it's not
And
just
they're
that,
outnumbering citizens
but
by design.
if you're getting arrested for a Facebook post, something's gone awry.
Yep.
So over here, our police officers, the successful ones, generally have to be over 6 foot tall, have to weigh over 200 pounds, and be proficient with firearms. Yes, there are small women police officers, and they're successful at their job, but they're also proficient with firearms, hopefully, usually. And they generally pair them off with a 6'2", 300-pounder, failed lineman who maybe has a chip on his shoulder, maybe an alcohol problem. A mustache, though, makes up for all that other stuff. And, but it's over there. I watch the videos of grown ass men being arrested for a Facebook post, and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me.
How about
You,
the prayer police? The people
yeah.
were arrested
Well,
for just thinking in their head of a prayer
yeah. Well, wait,
outside an
hold
abortion
on.
clinic.
Christian prayer police. I apologize. If you're Muslim, you can pray away.
Amen.
But that's the thing is it's the guns, and if
Deteriorate a
you
country becomes weak.
what's that?
You deteriorate the culture in a country and it becomes weak. And that's what I think the plan was for the immigration into America in mass droves with people who do not see the world through our lens or have our values and
Do
laws
you?
and expectations. They didn't have to acclimate. They created new communities.
I would rather um divvy that up to incompetence than malice. I think they wanted to open the borders to as a false as an attempt to bolster the economy by flooding it with workers. The bad thing that it did is it made it so that workers carry no value. So it drove our wages down further. But I think that's what they're trying to do because we're not breeding. We're not making the kids we're supposed to make. The boomers didn't replace themselves. The Xers didn't replace themselves. None of them are replacing themselves. So I don't know. Maybe AI, I think, is the big change, but we're at a replacement level that any other historical nation or city has been at has died. And we're heading that path. Everyone is. There's like 2 countries on earth that aren't.
Well, it's not just the work factor. They wanted the vote. They wanted the seats,
Well, yes, that's the
and they wanted
apportionment.
the population. So
Well, that's the
yes. So I think
apportionment
that
side of it.
I
I don't
see
even think.
malice in leaving the border open. I definitely in trucking these people around the country in the dead of night or flying them around. And I see malice in states that put up with it under the guise of free labor or uh, whatever it is by putting them on the government's dime. That all
Well,
looks like
I
malice to me.
it is states that were ran by Democrats that allowed that, but I think that was for apportionment. I don't think they cared or planned on them voting. I think what they cared about was
No,
that they
I,
would get the congressional seats.
the numbers,
Um, Now,
the
I do
numbers.
think that okay. Let me. We've only got 13 minutes left, so I'll do this real quick. So let's say you're Joe Biden and you're running in a presidential election. It's 2019 and you're in there and you're to get the vote, especially in the primary, you say, we're going to throw open the borders and welcome everyone in because the people you're trying to get the vote from are mad about Donald Trump, the current president. And so you voice something different than that. But you're in the throes, in the beginnings of dementia. So as you're doing that, and as you start building your pre-cabinet, you start filling it with these super lefties that will aid you in gaining those progressive votes. Probably with the plan
But how?
hold on. What do you mean with how?
It's Trump was in president back then. They couldn't just
I'm
open the
talking about
border
I'm
during
talking
the
about
election.
Biden when Biden gets up there when he's running the primary saying he's going to throw open
Oh,
the borders.
when he went, I see. I thought you meant
Okay. I'm glad
before
you're
he
following
won.
along. But let me continue on this path. So as you start filling it
Ew.
more and more with these progressive people, you keep slipping further and further into dementia. So then instead of being the driver of that ship, eventually, even before you win office, you start becoming the puppet of that ship of all these people you surrounded yourself with. That's why all these people who there was a lot of people on his staff who came out of nowhere. No, I mean, he had Blinken, he'd been around and done some things, but a lot of people on his staff that came out of nowhere and they started driving the ship. And I believe they ran his presidency and they were all these progressive 20 and 30 somethings that kind of made all of the decisions for that administration, which was why I think Biden, because unless Biden's a totally different person than he was even 8 years before, well, dementia made him a totally different person. It turned him into a person he was 70 years before that. And I think they drove that ship, and they did throw open the borders. And I think they did it for a couple reasons. One, you've got the Champagne socialists. They did it because, well, on their path to, goodness and holiness, they get to have a lot of real cheap labor. We can call it semi-slavery, indentured servitude, if you will. And also it gave them that apportionment. And that's what they really want. They want to have a Congress that's strong enough on the socialist side that when they put down some nut job plan, that there's no group that can stand up against it. That's their hope. That is what they're trying for. They want a Congress that when they come up with the next goofy idea, like we're going to have a censorship police, or we're going to disarm the populace, or we're going to make whatever we want happen. That's what they're going to do. They want to, they don't, I don't think they, I don't think they have the life experience to even recognize the damage they did. His administration's going to be remembered as an utter disaster down the lines of history. It's going to be remembered as an awful decision made where they flooded the country with people, drove down the wages, caused a wider gap between the haves and the have-nots. Honestly, if we come to revolt in this country, it's going to be because of that gap that keeps building. Is Biden's administration the only cause of that? No. Our banking system is every bit as at fault of that. The way our banking system is designed and inflation, that all feeds into that. But Biden's administration did so much for it. And Obama's too. Jesus, try shopping for a car nowadays. That's Obama's fault. I remember, early 2000s. I needed a car. I went and bought one for $67. It ran for 2 years. You ain't getting a car for under $1,000 right now. If it needs a lot of work, if you want a car that'll last 2 years, you're spending $3,000-4,000. It's ridiculous, but that's where we are. Anyways, your thoughts.
Mass immigration causes not just an upheaval and changing of seats, but it also causes housing shortages, healthcare issues, every single school issues. It doesn't matter. It's interwebbed into every little piece of your life. So by saying that you want it under control and you want to know who's here, you're not a racist. What you are is a realist who is saying that your children can't afford housing because there is none. And like you said, the country is doing so badly that Trump gets in, and in 12 months, we expect him to bounce us back so quickly when it's going to take time. And it is pre-Trump, Obama, Biden, those policies that he has to readdress and focus differently. Because even Bush, the focus has changed. It's not on our future. It's not on our prosperity, our children. The focus is like on here and now and what can you do politically for this country. And it's so backwards. It's so backwards.
That's where we are.
Immigration is important. It's good for countries to have immigration, but to do no checks, no background checks, or know who these people are or what their contribution is, you can't do that anywhere else in this nation. But the United States is supposed to do that. That makes no sense to me.
I think that met the criteria that the Champagne socialists got their, let's just say the business class got their cheap labor, which the Democrats was hoping that they would continue their handshake deal with the business class. I think what killed that was they went a little too far and abused the social media networks. And I think that's why a lot of the social media networks turned their backs on him and went to Trump during the last election. But they went too far and they abused him when they started making demands and wanting them to shut everyone down and don't let any speech out. And let's make up some new words like malinformation, whatever the hell that is. Jeff Adamson on Facebook says, sadly, citizens of our country don't realize what we have. Dignity index. Yeah, you're probably very true on that. It's tough. It's tough. We're staring down the barrel of a crazy future. And then William says, now Maduro knows what that the U.S. Army don't play. That is right, man. Just that was just the ultimate display of badassery. I mean,
it was epic for sure.
It was just badassery. Just the way they now, obviously, there was inside people. I believe that the vice president down there was completely in on it. Why else would she be kept in there? But she was completely in on it. I think there's been back channel talks.
I don't know why you would keep her
because she was in on it.
She was probably chosen so that nobody would kill him or hurt him because they wouldn't want her. The cartels or the corruption, that she's a quiet witness, but like, why make her your vice president? And then why keep her in if she's part of this corrupt regime? Even if she did give them, spy.
Hey, I agree with you, but we're just talking realpolitik. It is what it is.
You give her amnesty, or you give her not amnesty. You give her immunity or something for her crimes.
Hey,
I get her somewhere out of there, but you don't give her country.
I told you how I'd run it. I would tell her, look, you'll be in charge. You'll have 4 months to post a real election. The election will be ran by Eric Prince's group. I forget the name of it. It used to be Blackwater, but it'll be ran by them. It'll be ran by our dudes. It'll be ran on the up and up. We will have every country in there auditing your election. But you're welcome to run in it or you're welcome to retire out of it, whatever you want to do. But 4 months, you're going to have a real election. I'm giving you 4 months because you've got to have 4 months to stabilize before you have it. And
what are we doing anyway? Like, I know that's your idea, but do we know what the plan is? I know Trump said we're going to take over. And
we're taking oil.
We're going to help those companies that were destroyed and taken from America and let those oil companies come back. I've also seen peace talks regarding other countries coming in to help, get the area secure and all of that. So other countries are involved.
Sure.
What is their plan for leadership?
I would bring Argentina and El Salvador in on it for sure. I would, man, there's a movement. Maybe South America is going to have a total change. I mean, it might revolutionize and then we'll be looking up to them in 100 years. Maybe. I mean, you've got Argentina and El Salvador doing some pretty wild things. I mean, you've got the ultimate in kind of libertarian government, free market, laissez-faire. Let's see if that works at the test. And then you've got the ultimate in a very, I don't know if conservative is a way to put it, but a very orderly minded government that's not going to that's going to be a government control, not a culture control, because we've got tests of culture control on, like in Japan, and that culture controls their crime. Culture controls all that. This is a government control, which is, I don't know. There's a couple benefits that the Middle East didn't have. One, I don't know if I don't think South America runs as tribal. And correct me if I'm wrong, William. South America doesn't run as tribal as the Middle East does, where the Middle East has two dominant religions, the Sunni and the Shia. And then you got 3 or 4 minority religions in there as well. And then you've also got the different historic tribes in there as well. And I don't know if South America has the same. It might, but I don't know. And that'd be an interesting
Is Venezuela
sandbox.
is Venezuela the only country with oil in South America?
It's the major country with oil.
I mean, can you imagine if other countries had that energy locked down and were able to sell it and to turn those countries? I think corruption is what rots these cultures in Mexico and other poor nations. But to bring
Well,
them out of that third world and into the first,
my
in a perfect
unpopular
world,
opinion is it goes back to, if you were colonized by the Iberian Peninsula, you're screwed, because the Iberian Peninsula never let you mature into your own ideals. They kept all decisions were made in Portugal and Spain. And so you were just this, you could have petty decisions in your, and I think they're all, I mean, all of them, every country that was led from the Iberian Peninsula is going through this, all of them. And where Great Britain's mercantilism was maybe a little freer. It allowed the natives to get wealthy, where the Iberian Peninsula, Spain and Portugal just didn't. They maintained the wealth with them forever. And then they controlled you through edicts and governorship. And then when that was done, they controlled you through the church. So I think that it was hard for them as a nation to find maturity. And then they were very, very racist in their in the way they did stuff. I mean, it was, like just out and out. Even if you had a good idea, you had to have, if you weren't of the right genealogy, you had to have someone kind of sponsor you into prosperity. But I don't know. It's going to be interesting to watch. Man, it's sad to say, but I am hopeful, but I am not expecting success. Especially, here's the deal: Trump is probably going to get beat out in the midterms, and then he's just going to be quagmired by DC. So he's got a year, and then, I mean, he might have time, and if in the next 6 months we see success after success, and he just keeps building. I mean, this was an utter success across the board. Even the people who are decrying what he did, you can't deny it was a success. When you see the videos of Venezuelans out there cheering and happy, and the Venezuelans here and the Cubans that escaped Cuba in here, they're all cheering and happy. That might switch things up, where we've got this this Hispanics in diaspora. They might all lean into Trump now, and then that'd change everything. And so then we'd need to make sure that all Republicans running kind of lean in and run on that message, that we want to We want to be a beacon of good for this hemisphere. We want to bring prosperity to South America and Central America and Latin America. We want to bring to the Caribbean and all that. We want to bring
But how?
prosperity. We want to foster opportunity. And maybe that'd work. Maybe. I don't know.
Do that with the military?
No, you don't do that with the
Because I don't think
military.
the people want a military
No,
involved.
you're misunderstanding
How do
me
you bring
completely.
prosperity?
You're not understanding me at all. I'm saying you do that economically. That's the only way to bring prosperity. Military has never delivered prosperity. It's all economically.
Absolutely, I agree.
It's all you
Well,
send.
I have more hope for the myself. Trump he's been in only a year, not even a full year. And my hope is that he can get the young people back on his side, because that's what we've lost. And I think good candidates need to run, and good candidates, because there's a lot of people who feel like not candidates, but incumbents have been sitting on their hands this last year.
Was it the
Even
young
though there was
people
a
that
government shutdown.
was it the young people that blew out Virginia? Virginia got blown out. That was the big shocker. I think Virginia got blown out because a lot of them are government employees. Loudoun County is the wealthiest county in the United States because it's where everyone that lobbies and works in DC lives. So that might be why Virginia got blown out.
Well, whatever the reason, we had a lot of young people, and he's losing that support, but it's going up and down, up and down. And I think the number one thing is I don't know how you have a Congress that hasn't worked half the year, both with the shutdown and then the big beautiful bill and then the vacation and all of that. I think they're going to get a lot of drag from that, but both parties did it. I mean, both parties are guilty. So which party is hungry enough to go after their voters and really get into their communities? And I hope that it's Republicans. I hope they turn this around and get us the midterm, because Trump he'll probably be indicted or whatever.
He'll be
for the third
impeached.
time.
He'll be impeached if he loses the midterm. He'll be bogged down in impeachment the whole time.
And the Senate, if we lose the Senate, now they can fire him. And it will be a debacle that the next candidate coming up, I mean, of course his vice president would be sworn in, but that debacle is going to go through the nation like a ripple or a quake, whatever it is. And then we're back to square one again, where you got everybody just floating on what the hell is our government doing for us? Or get out of our way. It's not for us, it's to us. Let's let them out of our way. And that needs to be like the big message here. People who govern need to make laws that are giving you more freedom than less. That's for starters. Deregulate. That's a big one. Watch the taxes and put some perimeters on certain taxes, like property tax, Social Security tax. What? Put perimeters up if you can't abolish them altogether, and put some actual accountability on those no-name people that no one knows who run the school boards and vote for these raises and taxes, and they get 76% of your property tax, folks. And yet they can tell you that your municipalities are doing it to you, the ones who need money for roads and everything else. They're happy for you to blame your cities and counties for your taxes, but your counties get such a small percentage out of your property tax, and they're not the ones raising your taxes.
I would eliminate all direct apportionment to the Fed. No taxing the average person up to the Fed. I would have taxes. If you pay taxes to the feds, it goes through your state, through your I would only tax at the city, at the municipal level, be it city or county. and I'd have all taxes flow through that. And I would make it, that would foster it to where cities and counties, if they want to live in peace with their populace, they will do their damnedest to make sure they have an economy that runs so that they don't start driving taxes more at their people.
Yeah, but what about your military? Every state would just pay for the military in the United States?
The taxes flow up. That's what I'm saying. The taxes go through your municipality to your state, then to the feds. I wouldn't have direct apportionment. I just wouldn't. I think that's rife for corruption, and that way, and that would make it so that it's not as possible or as feasible for states to go to the feds with their hands out, like Minnesota is, and California is, and Ohio is, and all these places that went sideways are. But our state's kind of gone sideways too. Our state gives cash benefits to these illegals. And we have a substantial illegal Somali population, and it has been here for 15, 20 years now. I used to.
Well, and I think it's been by design. I hate to say it, but
Maybe.
I think both sides have been a problem, a big
Really?
problem. And I just think they've lost sight of the point of this nation.
Tell me more.
And I think Elon Musk was really excited about Venezuela. Okay, you're kind of being mean, so stop. To me,
I am.
Elon Musk, yeah.
How so? I was agreeing with you.
Oh,
I was saying, tell me more. Go on. Preach.
Thought you were being like sending.
Not at all.
So Elon Musk was really excited about the Venezuela thing and jumped back board here.
Yeah, it's impressive. 3 hours.
Like he is. It is so precise. I mean, our military is so extraordinary. I mean, it's so extraordinary, which is pretty. How lucky are we to live in a country like that, where we have an extraordinary military that is actually, not in our streets patrolling us. But, unless you're like LA and people are trying to run over ICE agents and.
Yeah, you saw that. I do have to go though. But yeah, I saw that. Boy, that's a rough situation.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Wrap it up.
I don't know my thoughts on how ICE has been running yet. I'm torn. I like the show, but I don't know if it has the outcome we're hoping for. I don't know.
We need reform in this country. We need immigration reform. We need to be able to vet people before they come in. At the very least, we should make the standard that every other country requires. Let's just do that, because it's all them and then us on their standard. So let's join them in that standard and vet the people trying to come in. What can they do for the country that's when they're here? What sponsors do they have to vouch for them? And to make sure they're not being abused by businesses or the small independent people. They're coming in, they're getting a fair little wage, and they're contributing, and then they're not taking government funds until they've been here long enough to get citizenship or at least get whatever they need for their country. And I think that it's important that we get that reform, and somebody out there is fighting to say. And I don't think you should have your citizenship just because you accidentally have a baby in America, or you don't. If I have a baby in some other country, they don't hand me a citizenship to that country and go, congratulations, your child is now a member of our country. They're like, hey, here's the bill, or not, depending on the country, and there's the door. Get out of here before 6 or 8 weeks. But do you see, until we actually can have that conversation out loud with other people and just decide like what's acceptable, what's not, because I have very good friends that are immigrants here, and some of them may not be legal. I don't, it's too personal for me to ask, but I know the hardships, and I also know that they are the hardest working people in my life. And I just want them to have opportunity, but I also want them to acknowledge the opportunity they had when they got here. And getting it done is crucial. I just think their focus should be on the criminals that were talked about first. Let's get rid of criminals first. And then reform it. Reform immigration and give people an opportunity to do it the right way. I would like that, with background checks and all of that. But I also think there's something to have people go home and get in behind those who have been doing it the right way. But there's
I
nothing wrong
concur.
with banning other country immigrants, saying we don't want people from these countries because of the culture shift and the clash. Why do we invite them in just to give them constitutional rights and watch them not acclimate? And I mean, there are cultures out there that don't believe a woman is even they're not more than a dog status, and that's horrible. Why would we invite those countries in to where women are powerful in this country and they have a voice and they are just as empowered as the men, and we have the freedom of men and we've got equality, and it's amazing here. Why would we invite people who hate women or do not think anything about them because they're not human beings to them? I don't understand that logic and why they would let cultures like that flood in. It has to be malice, in my opinion. Nobody's that stupid to think that wouldn't happen.
We've always had an influx of a culture. Aside from Mexico, hasn't been a big influx for us lately. I'd rather see us make a deal with Mexico and Canada just right off the bat. They're our neighbors. Let's make a deal. Let's figure it out how we can work together, enrich each other. Humana. But every time we've had military action in an area, we always see an influx from that area and surrounding areas. Somalia, the big influx there came right after 93 through 2000, right after we went over to Somalia.
Didn't we go over
Vietnam.
again in Obama?
No, well,
Didn't
yes,
Obama go to
we
Somalia as
kind of
well?
consistently went over there, but
I thought, yeah.
but no, our big influx was, well, the big push was, I think, in 92. We sent I want to say a Marine, a whole battalion over, or maybe two battalions, maybe a regimental size, as peacekeepers. But then you had the Black Hawk Down incident. That was after the Marines had left. I think Pakistan had taken over the peacekeeping mission, and they went over there just to capture Farah Hadid was his name. That, but every time, like I remember, grew up with a kid, KK, and his family was from Cambodia, but his family escaped over here in the 70s, right after the Vietnam War, when certain things we did caused the Cambodian populace to lean heavy into communism, and then they voted in the Khmer Rouge, and then Pol Pot did what Pol Pot did, and anyone who could escaped. And so we always, every time we have a military venture, it's right after that we have an influx of people from that area. And Europe is feeling that heavy right now. Their military adventure in Syria. I mean, Western Europe is essentially a Muslim country now. They've surrendered. One, you let them disarm you. Why? Don't let them take away your means of self-defense.
True.
Never. Never, ever, ever. Never. Not once. Gosh, if you do that, I mean,
I don't
you
understand
can.
why people do that.
What are the Brits going to do? How can they wrestle back a means of deciding their own future ever again? How? What can they do?
Canada's
Throw
doing the
rocks at
same thing
tanks?
right now to their people.
Yeah. I mean, not that Europe's ever going to be a world power because you all have to have your own tanks. How can you be a world power if you can't logistically supply it, morons? But how can you ever wrestle back your own destiny? How? What are you going to do? Going to march in the streets? Going to hang flags at night? Now your only hope is that the police all quit. And that, I don't know, you have no hope. The only armed people over there are the Muslims. Yeah. You've given up. It's over.
Well,
If I was British right now, I'd be doing my damnedest to move to America. That is it. I'd move to America, I'd get my citizenship, and I'd buy all the guns and ammo I could. That's my move.
I don't know why. I mean, they pay a lot of money in taxes to the king. Lots, 100 and something million a year of their taxes goes to the royal family, and it's so.
They had no
to
king's
me,
protest over
we
there
are kind of on a hill. That's hilarious to me. But you also got these folks that are these people in parliament. They're watching the streets and the dangers facing the people, and they're like, "This is fine. You're racist. You're Islamophobic." It to me, I don't understand. I can't get my mind around. No, I'm calling a spade a spade. What I'm seeing, tell me what I'm seeing isn't really happening. And even then, I'm still seeing it and I'm still feeling the fear of it. So get this together. Stop with it's that politically correct speech that's going to destroy everybody. Americans are getting tired of it and they're not taking it as seriously anymore. That, call me whatever you want. I'm just a realist. I'm just trying to say what I mean. And that's because we have a president who does the same. And
weirdest
when you back
form
off
of
and have a president who doesn't, you see how the world police come out, and it's a lost cause at that point. You cannot afford to have somebody in Senate or in the House that believes that you shouldn't be armed and that you shouldn't be able to say whatever's on your mind. And I mean, that's the whole founding of our country. That is our document.
you can be a
And
citizen.
they don't think that's important. You should never vote for a person like that.
Yeah, you can be a citizen or you can be a subject. It's your choice. William, he jumped over to Facebook. He says, when I see those news from England, I'm grateful that President Washington rebelled against the United Kingdom. Bingo. 100%. And Jeff said, I'm armed well. I have no phobias. Well, Jeff, repeat after me. I was armed well, but then I went fishing. I don't know why I took it all with me, but I did.
Boating accidents are real.
Man, seriously.
Guns are all over lakes everywhere.
It's rough. It's rough.
I guess it depends on who's in office if you've had a boating accident or not, right?
Yep. Yep. That's 100%.
Don't take it for granted, folks. How you vote, especially in the midterms, like there's masses of people who are like, I'm pissed at Trump. I don't like this. I don't like this. Think of the alternative and what we've gone through for 4 years with Biden. And now we've gotten even a year with Trump. We're not even at a year. And look what he's done.
Yeah. Oh, this has been 100% positive or not. This has been the president who has delivered his most promises ever in history. William says, He says, haha, no King's protests are hilarious. I still remember when Jared laughed at England's no King supporters. That was cool. Yes, it made me laugh. It was, honestly, it makes me wonder, like, did anybody in that protest in England stop for a second and go, wait a second, what? If anyone over there, just for a second, I don't believe Trump is working on. Honestly, I think Trump wants his name to be remembered throughout history forever. And I think he's trying to make his mark by by making decisions that he feels will give America another century. Right or wrong, if you agree with them or not, he feels they will. His administration feels they will. He surrounded himself this time with people who have that goal in mind. They want longevity of this nation. And I think my opinion is that decisions such as controlling who enters is one way to do that. Controlling the availability for you to grow in the economy is another way of doing that. And these are things that he's working for. Yes, there are a lot of holes we got to fill. There are a lot of holes he can't fill. He has no ability to fill like the housing market. That's something that he has no control over. Also, the housing market always moves off of stuff that happened years before that, because houses take a minute to build. I don't know if anyone knows, but they take, 6 months to build. And then, so they're years after. So, like, let's say he drops gas prices, that would bring housing prices down, but that would be almost the last thing, the last price or the last marker to come down from the gas prices being lowered. First, you'd see like eggs, you'd see that from the farm to the store stuff, those would go down first because those are affected immediately. So, like your eggs, your milk, your things like that, things that don't have as much processing or as much industry touching them en route. And then it starts filtering through.
Or anything that is moved by semis.
But that's what I mean by semi trucks, like immediately. They're from Fazio Egg over here in Erda right to Walmart. They that's affected immediately. Where you've got your sustained stuff like your crackers, that'd be next on the line, where those sit on shelves a little longer before they get to the store. So that would have a little slower effect for price to come down, your cereals and that. And it keeps filtering through like that. So you would see prices come down. You'd still have things that prices are controlled and everything else. They're controlled by a scarcity market and stuff. And that's something that may never be affected. And that's fine. That's not like needs, but it would be nice to see a housing market correction. But right now, Holly hates it when I do this, but we'd have to convince the boomers that they don't need to have a vacation home and a main home. And that's not all of them, but we would have to convince people that their home isn't their retirement plan. And how do you do that? Do I even agree that we would want to do that? No,
Yeah,
but we would have to do that to dump prices right now, because everyone has looked at their home as their greatest store of value. And I look at it the same way. I'm not going to lie, but that's why we are where we are. That's why you get people who bought a house in the 90s are sitting on a house that has climbed so much in value and price that, I mean, literally. But then again, they've inflated our currency now and then, so it's not going to matter anyway, because 500K ain't going to get you very far.
How do you afford a different house if you sell yours in a market like this?
100%.
And to be honest,
but what you look at,
better.
You're looking at it on the individual. You're looking on it, just one person doing it. I'm saying as a whole group. And I'm not saying we need to do this. I'm saying that's the only way it could be done. because I don't
Yeah,
agree
you
with
would
we
take
need to do this, but it's the only way it could be done. How would you bring prices down beyond that? Can the president put an edict out? No, we wouldn't want that. You know,
No, you have to build, you have to start what he's doing. Lowering gas prices is one,
yep,
for materials to move,
yep.
for trucking industry, all of that. So they start to drop in
When
price.
the cost
Two,
of new houses drop, but I want
and
you to,
two, people have to be prepared to build homes in where they live.
I
And
want you to
when
also,
they're all full in the Wasatch Front, they're all full. So where are they coming? They're coming out to counties like ours who don't want large growth and development. And so then the government comes in and says, well, you're going to need some homes or apartments in your area. And so that's what they do. And they'll require that. Again, it takes freedom from people.
but let me lay this out. If all that comes to fruition and say new house prices drop, we'll have a 2008 market crash.
Which is also terrible.
So we're in a lose-lose with this.
People with a second home to sell because there's not enough houses. To me, it's not about the people with second homes. They're the ones keeping the economy going.
No, we're any way we look at it, and you're right, but any way we look at it, we're staring down the barrel of, oh shit. Doesn't matter how we look at it.
And banks have to give loans. Banks have to give loans. Interest rate has to be affordable for people. Property tax has to get under control. I am so bugged by property tax. Don't get me started. But it's
you know
have
what
parameters.
you just argued for?
You should pay property tax on your home, but you should pay it once, like you do everything else you purchase.
You know what you just argued for?
Constant funding, and then you sell it, and the person who buys it from you pays the property tax on it.
But when you argue for banks have to give loans, you just argued for more inflation.
No, I'm just saying that the interest rate would drop so people can get loans. Right now, they can't even qualify.
I would rather see a higher interest. I would rather see a higher interest rate and a lower house price. That's how Volkner saved us from a collapse. But if you do it,
but going with the idea that you had that people need to sell their second homes and stuff like that, it won't even matter who sells.
That's not my idea.
They're not attainable.
That's not my idea. That's
it's just what you brought up.
It's just an avenue.
With what your thought was.
We've painted ourselves into a corner, and we got to figure out how to walk out of this room without getting paint on our shoes. And that's what we've done. We've done that with our banking system, with our. That's where we are. I don't see an easy avenue out. If house prices, the car industry is destroyed because Obama did cash for clunkers. He did that, destroyed the car industry. That's why before he did that, you could buy a new 3/4 ton diesel pickup truck for under $40,000. He did that, and now
that would cost you $100,000.
$100,000, and that's because he took all of the used cars out of the market. That's where we are. Because it was more profitable for someone to go get their car squished and buy a VW than it was for them to just sell it to some young kid. And so that's what they did. And that's where we're headed. And
and manufacturers aren't making cars like they used to. Manufacturers aren't making those family cars that are under $20,000 that people can afford. It's like they're stopped making so many different cars that we grew up knowing. Oh, well, that's a starter car.
It's supply and demand. They still make them
into a bigger vehicle as your family grows. Now they're not making them.
They still make them. They still make them.
About Nissan. Nissan does not make the Altima anymore. The Maxima, the Titan. The Altima was the one car that new families would get.
No, the Sentra.
First car. No, they're making the Sentra.
They are or they're not?
They are making the Sentra.
The Sentra's their starter car. That's their smallest car. The
I'm
Sentra,
talking about their family car.
the
The ones
Sentra
for
in
first-time.
the Sentra in 2010 was the cheapest car you could buy. It was what was it, $16,000, $17,000. Cheapest car you could buy was the Nissan Sentra. And ask your husband how much a Nissan Sentra costs right now.
It's
Because
probably 33.
supply and demand is God's law. It's written into bone. Supply and demand. And when you take away the supply of used cars, the demand for cars go up. So car companies fill that demand at the benefit of their wallets. And so I don't blame Nissan for doing this. All companies have done it across the board. And that's where we're sitting. When you take away the used cars, when you take away those cars where a teenager could save up from a newspaper route on when he was 15 over a summer and get a $500 car that would get him back and forth to school until he graduated. When you take that away, next you've got that next step. So if a parent's going, I'm buying my kid a car,
Those days are over.
those days are over. And that's just how it goes. And so the cars you buy now, this last summer, I bought the family bought 3 cars for teenagers, and they were hot garbage. And the prices they want for them were ridiculous. But it's supply and demand. Jordan says, yo, hey guys, great to see you. As a libertarian, I would say politicians from both parties are corrupt and bad. The politicians are always about the money and power. True. Well, I don't want to say that openly. I want to say that what we've done, I think Doge was the correct step. I think we need kind of a reset because for the most part, our politicians have been rendered kind of toothless. And let's face it, Congress does nothing positive or negative in our life anymore. FDR, he pulled their teeth and they let it happen and they've carried on with that. None of them, they haven't wrestled that back. The Senate allowed the national popular vote to happen. So it no longer fights for the state level. So I would argue it's the bureaucracy that is our biggest threat as a nation. He says we need more libertarians and more options on the ballot. Yes, we need to reset totally. And how do you do that? How do you have a reset? I think if we mapped a plan out for that and got it out, I imagine all sides would be willing to get involved in that. I imagine the progressive Democrats, I imagine the conservative Republicans would all be willing to see some kind of reset happen, some kind of more local control, let New York suffer with Mondani. Boy, that place is going to be fun to watch. And let places be what they're going to be and try different things and find different avenues of success. I think but I don't know. I don't know how you get this done. I don't know. I should reach out to our congresswoman before she's not our congresswoman
we should end
anymore.
On that note.
Yeah. All right. Everyone have a good night. Thanks for joining us. Holly, good to see you again. Congratulations, everyone. Holly is running for
why do you say that? She actually has a different filing deadline than other offices. They don't file till March.
You don't?
District 29.
Yeah. But you don't file till March?
Hello.
I know you live in it.
Celeste won't file till March.
Oh, okay. But she won't be our representative anymore unless she moves. She'll be
Well, it depends. It
Congresswoman.
depends on the new maps. She can run for the district that she lives in.
Yeah, but she doesn't live in the new maps our district, right?
We don't know who ours would be.
Yeah. So that's the thing, but I
No,
should reach
you're
out
right.
to her. Should reach out to her. All right.
Yeah, please do. My internet is hot garbage, so I have to
Yes.
go.
Oh,
I'm only
yep.
getting tiny bits of what you're saying.
Jordan
And
says he wants to
thanks again for
volunteer for you.
who said?
And would Jordan?
Oh, Jordan, awesome. I would love it.
Yes. And
I'm
William
always looking
says, have
for
a good night.
volunteers and donations because apparently you need money to run a campaign. And well, we're not making the big bucks on this podcast, so I'm going to have to figure
Okay.
something out. But
I've got to have a few minutes with your mom, but you can go. So Sherry, I don't
is she on?
blame. I'm chatting with your mom. I don't blame the boomers. This is for everyone. I don't blame the boomers.
Love you, Mom.
I don't think the difference is the boomers were such a massive group that they got every goal that they had politically, they got, whereas the other groups didn't. And that's not to say the boomers were any more selfish than any other group would be. They're just so large that they were able to be. And that's this is an argument I have with my Aunt Norma all the time. She thinks I'm picking on boomers, and I'm not. Yes, some boomers are crappy, but some of everyone is crappy. It's just that you were such a large voting block that, like, if we look at property taxes, on the average, when the boomers were in their 30s and 40s, they were amenable to property taxes going up every time they voted for someone. And that was at the cost of their parents. Even when their parents were retired, I'm not saying you were, I'm saying as a group. And then now that the boomers are retiring, they're arguing for no property taxes for retirees, which what that's going to do is that's going to foist that government cost that you were willing to spread equally across everyone. That's going to foist that onto your kids and grandkids. So everyone else's taxes are going to go up to give this leverage to you that your age group voted to not give to everyone else. Also, the boomers kind of stayed in their mid-level positions longer than they should have. And that's because health changed and everything else, and work changed, just general work. It became more office centric and easier jobs, started automating. And so that carries with it good and bad because no group, you and after, replaced themselves. That allowed for a larger workforce, even though that workforce aged. But what it also did is it stopped some of the rise into higher level positions of the people after you. So all these things are it's a convection of different pressures, the large voting block, the difference in industry that come along, the difference in the economy that the United States moved into naturally, and some of it was kind of focused through government programs, all that stuff. So what we're going to see over the next few years, just a prediction, we're going to see a no tax on retire or no property tax on retirees. Is it a good thing? This is where I'm torn. Yes, it is. but it's also a selfish thing where those very retirees that demand it were the same retirees that would not give it. When they had the opportunity to give it, they said no, but now they have the opportunity to demand it and they will get it. That's going to raise the taxes on all the youth, on not all the youth, but Gen Xers and below. That's going to raise our taxes. And then when you guys are gone and your children and grandchildren start inheriting your stuff, the generations behind them are going to get their revenge on us Gen Xers. And that's what's going to happen. Us Gen Xers are going to die in our kids' homes. That's just point blank. That's what we have to look forward to. And I'm not blaming you, just stating this is just the facts. It's just what it is. And it's not it's not calling anyone bad. It's mostly just the largest voting bloc in the history of the world is going to get what it wants. It has gotten what it wants. And it will continue to. And then we will suffer with the rebuild after. It's going to be a big cultural bomb all through it. Just like it was when you were born, big cultural bomb when you were born. To manage you guys, they started building a whole new education structure that became a parasite after you guys. It started becoming a parasite with us Gen Xers as we went through school. And it's continued to be a parasite. That has no fault of yours. That is a fault of a government trying to deal with a whole bunch of young men coming home horny from World War II. Jordan says, I'll help Holly win. It's going to be a team effort to get elected, 100%. Oh, and yes, you are living longer. You are. Thanks. All right, Sherry, I hope no boomer gets offended by this. I hope you just look at what I'm saying. You have to step back and separate yourselves, Like I'm a Gen Xer. If I look at Gen Xers, we carry a lot of problems with us. We're disassociative. We fed into this culture. The boomers fed into this cultural problem because they latched on in their older age to protecting their manager position by allowing the DEI stuff to come in and not fighting back because they were the managers that didn't fight back. And us Gen Xers, we leaned into it because we disassociate and we suffer through stuff. Then, of course, you got the millennials and Zoomers and that they're the ones that went to school and learned it. Now we got Gen Alpha who's coming out of it. And then we got this whole kind of little racist group being brought up in our youth right now, which we're going to have to deal with that. We've got to have a show about that. That's going to be a bomb that's going to hit us in about 20 years. That it's going to be crazy. But anyways, everyone have a good night. Have a wonderful week. Be safe. Be humana. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy everything else, and we'll see you next week.